Peace, brothers and sisters here, brother Stephen X, respecting media. I hope all is well with you. I hope you are having a flourishing and prospering week and weekend. This is my first time talking about, I think it's my first time actually, well, dedicating a video to Canelo versus Bud Crawford. Believe it or not. So it's already been a week now. It was last week, Saturday. So it's been 7 days. It's been a week since Bud Crawford's historic win over Saul Canelo Alvarez. And definitely congratulations to Bud Crawford. This is a fight that you got more and more interested in it really as it got on the fight night, to be honest. I can speak from my part. Like I was into it, but I wasn't like watching all the pressers, or I saw clips of the pressers, but I didn't like sit down and watch a whole presser. Maybe I did earlier on, but my point is like it always felt like a forced fight because Bud was moving up from 147 as the undisputed welterweight champion. We all know his historic win over Errol Spence. We all saw that. But going up to 168 really is middleweight. I think super middleweight. To go up to that level and literally dethrone Canelo Alvarez, who is the face of boxing. Um, and in this face of boxing thing, it for me this term really just means fame or popularity. So, you got to put Jake Paul in there, to be honest with you, because face of boxing to me doesn't really have anything to do with um, the greatest skilled boxer or the greatest boxer, like you would put on a pound for pound list. I think this term face of boxing um, is about popularity. Now, you could apply it to meaning who should be the rightful face of boxing because they are true to boxing. And in that conversation, I would say those that are striving to be undisputed, like Terence Bud Crawford, or who have been undisputed, Usyk, um, anyone who's been undisputed, Devin Haney, in a way. I'll only respect people that get belts, unify, and have or former undisputed or current undisputed. I don't understand boxing without that. It doesn't even make any sense. I don't want to hear anything about money and bags. Um, Everyone's a prize fighter, so we know you're getting in the ring and getting paid. What are you accomplishing? What are your accolades? That's what I want to talk about. So we've seen the dethroning of Canelo, um, and now we have the Terence Crawford era. We've gone from Canelo to the Terence Crawford era, and it's really amazing because so much was set against Bud Crawford. I mean, so much. And I was consistent, even though I didn't do a broadcast. I tweeted it on my Twitter page that what's good for boxing and what's good for Bud Crawford is that he wins by UD, because a knockout can easily be said as, oh, it was a lucky punch or lucky punches, and he got lucky. That's what critics say. That's what haters say. Or if it was a split decision for Bud, that would be bad too. That wouldn't be good for boxing. A UD is definitive. Three judges, you persuaded three judges that you were the better man that night. So that's better than a knockout, right? It's go argue with the judges, and you can't say that they were favoring Bud because two of the judges had the bout, from my understanding, after the 10th round going into the championships rounds where Bud turned up, especially in the 12th. He won both those rounds, in my opinion. But where Bud turned up, uh, Bud had to win those rounds because two of the judges had it the fight for Canelo. So, or not for Canelo. I think what was it? I think it was a draw. Two of the judges had to fight a draw going into those championship rounds. That's what I saw because I had looked at the scorecards. It was something to that effect. And so my point being is that going into the 11th and 12th, that's why they call them the championship rounds, Bud had to prove that he was the man, and we all know he is the man. But he showed it and proved it, and he shared the ring with Canelo, and really Canelo. Um, it's really the end of an era, to be honest with you. The Canelo era is over. With that victory, we've gone from the Canelo to the Terence Crawford era, and folks can argue all they want, but you can't argue with three judges. You cannot argue with three judges. So it was definitely a historic night for Bud. Um, I came across an article here from Boxing Team called Five Observations from Canelo Alvarez to Terence Crawford. And it just lays out like five observations about the win. As I say here, Terence Bud Crawford moved to 42-0 and became undisputed champion in a third weight class with a performance of bravery and immense skill as he outpointed super middleweight champ and fellow future Hall of Famer Saul Canelo Alvarez in Las Vegas on Saturday night. Here are one blurry-eyed observer's thoughts after the Netflix broadcast ended past 2 a.m. So the first observation they say is one, Terence Crawford is an all-time great. Early in fight week for Terence Crawford's Omaha, Nebraska homecoming against Yorkis Gamboa, I bumped into my then HBO colleague who wrote this. Okay, so the author of this article is Karen Mulvaney. You guys can check it out yourself. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I bumped into my then HBO colleague Jim Lampley in the hotel. I mentioned something to the effect of fully expecting Crawford to do great things, not just against Gamboa, but also in the future. And Jim responded with something to the effect that he regarded him as the best American boxer of his generation. Everything Crawford has done since then has only validated those early opinions. Bud has barely put a foot wrong in the ring. If he has made any mistake in his career, it was re-signing with Top Rank in 2018 when the best opposition around his weight class was across the street with PBC. That probably prevented him from fully showing his very best against the very best until he annihilated Errol Spence Jr. in 2023. But over the past few years, even if we haven't seen enough of Crawford, what we've seen has highlighted just how good he can be. Saturday night should finally lay to rest any remaining doubts. And what an era in which to be a boxing fan. For Alexander Usyk is every bit on the same level, and Inoue, I just mentioned those names. Inoue isn't too shabby either. The only question is how much longer any of them will be around. So yeah, and this is the whole point of this video. We've really seen the full, like the fruition of Terence Bud Crawford, and we've seen the decline. We've been seeing the decline of Saul Canelo Alvarez. And I'm not here. I have seen a few criticisms of him, but folks are treading lightly. They're treading lightly when critiquing, and I don't know why they shouldn't. It's not going to do him any well. Um, you know, like I don't get it. Actually, there's another part here. It says two. This was coming for Canelo. Canelo Alvarez is sailing into the Hall of Fame. He will go down as one of the definitive fighters of his generation and one of the best to come out of Mexico. This loss diminishes his status in the short term, but in the long run, his legacy is secure. That is very true. It is. His legacy is secure. He's going to the Hall of Fame, and deservingly so as well. That said, there was a reason many of us picked Crawford, and it wasn't just Bud's brilliance. After a lifetime of taking on the very best, Alvarez has, over the past couple of years, been coasting. His punch output, always selective, has fallen, and he has lacked the stamina to maintain the kind of pressure through 12 full rounds to finish off overmatched foes. And in the injuries he's increasingly been carrying, and the inevitable wear and tear of 68 pro fights, that's a lot of fights, and the stage was set for a potential upset, even if it took the singular skills of Terence Crawford to execute it. Yeah, so, silk sheet syndrome, that's what I call it, silk sheets syndrome. We all know, I think it was Hagler, said, the minute you wake up in silk sheets, you're done. You know, there's a saying that Canelo and his team, they're businessmen first. They're not boxers. I don't know if y'all heard that, but I've heard the saying that they're businessmen. So they make business decisions. That's where Canelo's been in his career. He has that much money that these fights, he's less of a fighter, more of a businessman. And I've seen clips of Eddie Reynoso, I think speaking in Spanish, I saw a clip of him saying, Canelo, I'm summarizing, Canelo's coming to the end. We're not going to give him too tough of fights, things that were, he would have done earlier in his career. So basically cherry picking and choosing who you want to fight. Money Mayweather was in that situation as well too, but we never saw a decline in Money Mayweather. I mean, Money Mayweather never lost. Let's start there. Although he's never been undisputed, which is problematic. But he wasn't fighting like Skull and Berlanga. I mean, these fights did not help Canelo Alvarez at all. How is that going to prepare you for Bud Crawford? I mean, Skull, because of style, but Bud doesn't move around like that like Skull. But in terms of a slick style, maybe. But Skull clearly has no power, and Skull was moving around a little bit too much for my liking. Great boxing style, but that's not going to get you defense. I mean, some of the judges favored him, and defense is very important. It's one of the 4 criteria. But that display he did is not enough to persuade judges to beat Canelo. That's the whole thing. If you're going to fight like that, make sure you fight and turn up the offense. You got to be defensive first, but you got to turn up the offense. The offense has to be the output, has to be just as good as that defense. I'm all for defense first, but those fights didn't help Canelo. And Canelo's in a place where now, what's left for Canelo Alvarez after losing to Terence Crawford? Canelo he has 2 fights left on his Riyadh season deal with His Excellency Turki Al-Sheikh. Canelo has to go ahead, win, lose, or draw, rematch Bud Crawford right away. I don't think it should be the last fight. I think even if it's a year from now, and now it's your intention to rematch Bud Crawford. A year is long, I know, but he's going to need that to change things so he can show something different in the ring. And even if he loses, he won't disappoint his fans. He's disappointed his fans. Now, the thing about Canelo fans is I think they're delusional, because I think Canelo knew he was going to lose. But I have a theory. I think Canelo knew he was going to lose to Bud Crawford. And his fans didn't get the memo. Although every fighter, you go in thinking you're going to win, but I think there was doubt. He knew what he was up against. He knew. I've only heard Canelo saying disparaging things about Bud when he wanted to start fighting him. But before that, he was saying great things about Bud. He predicted Bud would beat Arrow. He said Bud had the more fighter lifestyle, he was better skilled. I remember all those compliments, But I just, we all knew Bud would win. But if Bud was to lose, it would be because Canelo's too powerful. He's too big. See what I'm saying? So, Bud Crawford can retire right now. I don't think he should move down to 160 and fight any of those guys. I just don't want to hear it. Right now, the Terence Crawford era, he can do what he wants now. And I really think he should, if he rematches Canelo, definitely it should be for a bigger payday. We got $10 million guaranteed for this fight. But I think he should go ahead and, if he does that rematch, negotiate for a higher guarantee. You know, obviously you get the gate, you get Netflix, all that stuff, money out of everything, concession stands, all that. But and go ahead and make that fight in Omaha, Nebraska, or somewhere in Nebraska where the Huskers play, wherever the Huskers play, because you know we saw Bud with the Huskers mouth guard. Wherever the Huskers play, whatever stadium their football team plays in, go ahead and have the fight there, and make Canelo's fans, because they go everywhere he goes. They went all the way to Saudi Arabia when he fought Skull, so they can go to Nebraska and watch the rematch, even if it's a year from now. I mean, a year is going to fly by. And make that the last fight for Bud Crawford, the rematch. He doesn't need anything after the rematch. Unless he loses. If he loses, then y'all got to set up a trilogy. And then we all know Canelo's done in 2 fights. So it'll be interesting to see how Terence Crawford moves. You know, I didn't really want to do anything beforehand. Like I had said, the interest, I became more interested in the fight by fight. And I'm like, yeah, let's go. And just a bit before, I'm like, okay, I saw the significance. And Bud made me a believer that this guy is super determined. Alpha, you know, 2 alphas fought Saturday, and we saw who prevailed. So yeah. We're we've gone from the Canelo to the Terence Crawford era. I just wanted to share some of my thoughts. Redoing the website. Go check out the website, respectringmedia.com. If you ever need to get a hold of me for anything or submit articles, you can get me by email, respectringmedia@gmail.com. I'm on Twitter, very active on Twitter. If you're on Twitter, X, you can find me at Respect Ring News. You'll just see the name. It says Respect Ring Media. See my photo, Stephen X. If you want to support in the Cash App, always appreciate it. $ Respect Ring Media. Please do like this video. If you can subscribe to my channel, I'll be very grateful, and share the video. All of that stuff helps to grow the channel and get the message out there. Yeah, I'm going to definitely speak more on this. Yeah, there's nothing more to say. I mean, the 3 times undisputed. We've never seen anything like Bud. Definitely the best in this generation. And I had did a Twitter, you know me and my Twitter polls. I did a Twitter poll, and I think it was 50% had said that Bud is, in terms of all-time greats, Bud is top 5 all-time greats, but not number 1. So that's very interesting. Very interesting. So y'all, thank you so much for your time. And we will connect again. Thank you so much, Stephen X. Respect Ring Media. Peace.